Well, the last time I saw David Alexander was when he featured on television. That must have been 5 years ago. The asset forfeiture unit took something like 50-odd million rands worth of assets away from him. He then went to jail, convicted of fraud of 372 million rand, sentenced to 15 years. Earlier this year, at the end of July, was paroled, and he's in our studio now, David. Unusual to have a convicted fraudster in our studio, but you've got an interesting message, and that's why we invited you here. You're almost going to do like Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Frank, or rather the character played by Leonardo DiCaprio, Frank Abagnale, in that movie called Catch Me If You Can, to use the experience that you've had to catch the bad guys.
That's right, Alec. That's what my plans are. I think after what happened to me and the damage that I caused to a large number of people. I mean, although people say that fraud is a non-violent crime, that's a debatable issue, because fraud is something that doesn't only affect one single person, as in the case of perhaps a person-on-person crime, but it affects a lot of people, reputational-wise. People lose their jobs, companies can go bankrupt. So I feel that my knowledge and experience can assist other companies to prevent the same thing happening to them.
When you look around, there have been a lot of fraudsters who are claiming their innocence. J. Arthur Brown from Fudentia. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at that case. The whole Agliotti, Celebi, Vareges sagas in those affidavits there too. Are you able to assist in some way the authorities in getting these guys behind bars?
Alec, yes, I think all of these things have a common pattern, and once you can identify the pattern, you can get to what's behind it. But I think that rather than being reactive, I think that people should rather be proactive and recognize that there are certain things that can be done before that sort of thing happens. There are giveaway signs that you could be looking at problems. There's organizational structures that could cause you problems. There's personal characteristics of your managers and the people running your business that can land you up in problems.
How do you identify, how do you recognize a criminal, a white-collar criminal?
Well, you can't really, Alec. I mean, they look the same as what, well, certainly you don't look like a white-collar criminal, but I mean, they look like me. You can't look at them and say, that guy's going to steal my money. The point is that these people have I say these people, including myself, have a certain approach to life that enables them to recognize a potential victim. And they look for a particular kind of person. The person himself that commits a white-collar crime is usually characterized by greed. It's very seldom that it's done for the desperation reasons. I stole because I don't have food for my family. That is generally not true. People steal, they commit major white-collar crime because they're greedy. They commit major white-collar crime because they're power-hungry. They get a thrill out of beating the system. It's an adrenaline rush. You do it once, you must do it again. So there's certain characteristics, personal characteristics, both of people that are likely to commit white-collar crime and also of the people that are likely to become a victim of white-collar crime.
And are there any dead giveaways? Someone listening to this now, next time they're offered an opportunity that's too good to be true, as often Wayne McCurry says, it usually is too good to be true, but the person selling it has a huge incentive, as you've explained now, perhaps being driven by greed, and they're usually a lot slicker than the victim.
Alec, I think there's only one way of doing it, because particularly nowadays with technology, it's not like it was when I was involved in it, where you sort of created a document using a photocopy machine and a fax. And nowadays with technology, you can create a document that looks absolutely perfect. You can create a website that looks exactly as the website of the company does. You can have telephone calls relayed from one place to the other, and you can think that you're speaking to the right person, and you're speaking to somebody completely different. So the only way to recognize it is, number one, as Wayne said, if it looks too good to be true, it is. Things like that are always categorized by returns that are far above what you could get anywhere else. They usually said there's no risk, and the big giveaway is this is a scheme that is secret. It's based on confidential insider information. Whatever you do, don't tell anybody, because then they will also know. When you hear that, it's time to head for the hills.
How are you going to put your knowledge to use?
Well, I've got a series of training courses that highlight these issues. There's also mechanisms, as I said, to recognize the person in a company who's likely to become a victim. And that is the guy with the large ego, usually a really aggressive manager, a person who has a complete inability to admit that he's made a mistake. And a person like that, once he's got himself into a situation, there's no backing down. Where does he go? Because his ego makes it impossible for him to admit that he's actually made a mistake. He's wrong. A person like that is also people that work for him are scared to approach him. If a person who works for him has made a genuine mistake, he probably won't tell him, and he'll try and cover it up, and the situation gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
Dave, have you made your peace with Natie Kirsch?
I haven't actually tried, Alec. That's a really difficult situation. I recognize that I hurt him badly, and I'm really sorry about that. But as to making peace, I have been concerned solely with survival up to now. I haven't got around to really making peace with anybody.
Well, we look forward to talking to you again. I'm sure that the Moneyweb team, who are trying to catch fraudsters all the time with whatever journalistic techniques they have, might be able to tap into your knowledge. And surely there'll be a lot of businesses who are listening as well with big ears. And we wish you well in your rehabilitation.
Thank you, Alec. I appreciate the opportunity.